Hello, everybody. It's 9:05, and we're ready to begin our webinar. Thank you, everybody, for registering and attending our Educator Workforce webinar on mentoring, induction, and teacher growth. Thanks for joining us today. This is the first webinar in a series of webinars designed to support school and district leaders with their efforts to develop their local educator workforce. Here are the Office of Educator Excellence, the unit that is responsible for providing guidance and support for educator workforce, for mentoring and induction, for educator evaluations, for appropriate placement, and for professional learning. We are members, these are the members of the Office of Educator Excellence at MDE, and we look forward to sharing information and connecting you to viable resources throughout this webinar series. So we are honored to host this meeting for participants throughout the state on this call. We're excited to share some of the content with you to support your practices towards continuous improvement goals. Joe Priest has worked to put this webinar content together. My name is Brian Lloyd. I am an education research consultant for the Office of Educator Excellence, and Joe is an education consultant for our office as well. We're very excited to share some of the content with you and to support your practices towards continuous improvement goals. We want to encourage your participation during the webinar. Your participants within these webinars learn as much from each other as from the content that you see. So your input is important not only for better understanding, but for the better understanding of all participants. We will have a poll of questions for the group response. Please use the Q&A pod to post any questions that you have throughout the course of the webinar. We will attempt to answer as many of the questions during the live webinar as possible, but also following the webinar, we will send out an expanded Q&A document with extended answers to questions from today's session. But if you don't ask the question, we won't be able to provide you the answer. Additionally, after the webinar, we will send out via email the presentation deck slide and a link to the recording of the webinar. Please note that the sketch, the SECH survey through the MOEX system will be sent at the conclusion of the webinar series and must be completed in order to earn sketches. Participant registration records will be kept to ensure participants earn credit for the attendance at the live webinar. And thanks again for joining us today. So the Office of Educator Excellence and our unit is focused around the top 10 and 10, and specifically the strategic goal number 3 within the top 10 and 10. Our work today supports the strategic plan to help Michigan become a top 10 and 10 education state and a top 10 education state within 10 years. The focus of our time today directly aligns with goal number 3 to help develop and support a high quality, prepared, and collaborative workforce. The Office of Educator Excellence supports the educator pipeline from preparation through placement through development and retention. Our goal is to support Michigan educators to support their students. The programs listed on the slide is just a portion of the programming supported by the office. We provide support around making educator evaluations relevant and purposeful to support educator professional growth, to facilitate continuous improvement. Tools to support the measurement of student growth for educator evaluations, including workshops and other webinars that will be forthcoming, and guidance documents and tools as well. Our office also leads the Michigan Teacher of the Year and Regional Teacher of the Year, MTLAC recognition programs, along with social media campaigns, our proud Michigan Educator campaign. I encourage you to check that out on Twitter, which has some great videos of outstanding teachers and educators across our state. Our office also supports educator workforce research specific to Michigan to identify trends of teacher preparation, retention, and movement, and we'll make some reference to that during the webinar today. During the webinar today, we're going to focus on mentoring and induction as an important support for beginning educators. We're going to take a brief look at the Michigan legislation around mentoring and induction. We'll spend the majority of our time today outlining best practices for mentoring and induction programs to support your local implementation. We will also share a resource to support a district's self-assessment of their mentoring and induction programs. And again, remember, if you have called into the webinar today, please make sure to mute your phone so that the other attendants do not hear your background noise. The mentoring and induction legislation in our state outlines that for the first 3 years of his or her employment in the classroom, teaching, a teacher shall be assigned by the school in which he or she teaches to one or more master teachers, college professors, retired master teachers, who shall act as a mentor or mentors to the teacher. During the 3-year period, the teacher shall also receive intensive professional development induction into teaching, including classroom management and instructional delivery. During the 3-year period, the intensive professional development induction into teaching shall consist of at least 15 days of professional development. The legislation 380-1526 sets some requirements but leaves some decision-making for programming to the local districts. Our webinar today will not be listing requirements for district compliance. Our focus is on support. So instead, we present some ideas that can support mentoring and induction programming within your local district and help districts set goals for continuous improvement of their support program for new educators. So as we talk about mentoring and induction, it's important to provide a definition and an explanation for what mentoring is, what induction is, how they're similar and how they're different. Mentoring is one-on-one support and feedback provided by an experienced veteran educator to a new or struggling educator. Induction is a system of coordinated and aligned supports designed to provide new educators with a supportive pathway into the profession. Induction includes mentoring, but it also includes additional support such as professional development, seminars, and online learning, curriculum planning, and orientation. So mentoring can be considered a subset of induction, and induction is a broader set of practices that are designed to improve the outcomes of a beginning teacher. Mentoring is a critical feature of a comprehensive set of induction programs, but should not be the only feature. A couple slides ago, we talked about educator workforce research and data reports and white papers that we're providing to the state. An example of some of the data that we're providing for the state can be found on this table that shows, that demonstrates some of the importance of the why of mentoring and induction. So this data represents, it's compiled with the assistance of CEPI, Michigan Center for Education Performance and Information. And this data is representative of the population of our teachers across the state. This data shows that in 2011-12, 12-13, 13-14, 14-15, the number of new teachers that we had within the state of Michigan for each one of those school years.
Did they know the number?
The next column provides the number of teachers who left the teaching profession, were assigned a building, and then during that school year, and then or within the first 3 years, left the profession and did not return. So we're not assigned to any building. So within their first 3 years, in 2011, within their first 3 years of teaching, 19.7% of teachers left the teaching profession. And that number has increased from 11-12 to 14-15. And for 2014-15, 23.8% of teachers within their first 3 years left the profession. Within their first 5 years, close to 30% in 2011-12 and 12-13 left the teaching profession after their first 5 years, within their first 5 years, and did not return to the teaching profession. What does this do to the teaching profession? This does cause some instability within our staffing resources, and really demonstrates the importance of why it isn't so important to provide good supports within the first 3 years, within the first 5 years of teachers in order to help ensure their success. So now I'm going to turn it over to Joe Priest, who's going to talk through the purpose of induction and others.
Thank you, Brian, for that introduction as well as for the presentation here to open our webinar. Again, just one more time to say thank you to our participants on the call. We really appreciate you joining us and making some time for us today, and we hope we can provide some value to you as you are looking at your mentoring and induction programs and trying to think of ways to maybe beef up or improve those programs to better support your local educators. This slide really talks about the purpose of induction programs, and mentoring and induction really comes in at a really critical transition point for new teachers and new leaders, and really helps them to bridge that gap and from the more supervised clinical experiences that they received in their pre-service prep programs to the more full responsibilities that educators take on when they're in the in-service setting. So this mentoring and induction piece helps bridge that gap to taking on the full responsibilities that are required of classroom teachers and other educators. And really, these mentoring and induction supports can really help this time of transition and really help educators more rapidly adjust to those responsibilities, while also helping them to connect their professional learning experiences with the real life situations that they're faced day to day in the classroom and their schools. Mentoring and induction can connect with and support many state and district-driven initiatives as well, including providing access to excellent educators, alleviating teacher shortages, and addressing school turnaround. So purpose of mentoring and induction can spread across multiple initiatives. Let's take a look at this graphic from Ingersoll and Strong's work. Research has shown us that mentoring and induction can have a positive impact on teachers' satisfaction with working conditions, which can lead to improved rates of teacher retention. Research also indicates that mentoring and induction supports can help teachers improve their instructional practice and therefore help student learning and increase student achievement. And then along with that, teacher retention and student achievement are closely linked, because teachers are more likely to stay in schools where they feel successful and feel like they're contributing to the success of their students. In turn, schools with high rates of teacher retention tend to have more experienced and effective teachers who can positively impact student learning. To state it another way, high-quality teacher mentoring and induction programs can increase teacher commitment, improve instructional practice, improve teacher retention, and ultimately increase student performance. Here's an excerpt from an ASCD article, Ed Leadership article, and it's linked there at the bottom of the slide, describing one district's approach to induction. I know there's a lot of words on this slide, but I'm going to give you a few seconds to go ahead and read through this and think about how this connects with your current approach in your district or system to mentoring and induction. Hopefully that excerpt there helped you make some connections with your programming, or maybe even help you start thinking about some ways to grow your program or new perspectives to look at. We're going to take a moment here on our next slide and do our first shared response question. We have a chat window here opening up for you. And we've already talked through some of the benefits to educators and school systems of high quality mentoring and induction programs. So starting off our webinar here, what are the positive outcomes that you would most like to see from your induction efforts? Feel free to pop in your responses to the chat and also take some time to read the responses of your colleagues from around the state and their perspectives on what their goals and positive outcomes that they hope to reach with their induction program. We'll give you a few minutes here to respond. Thank you for your thoughtful participation on that chat. As you can look through some of the ideas, you can see why we like to put out chat opportunities during these webinars to tap into the experience and perspectives from so many qualified educators across the state of Michigan. We really do have a lot of expertise out there, so this webinar is just one small attempt to bring some of that expertise together and learn from one another. So thank you for your great participation. Another thing that we'll do with these chats is we'll pull these all down at the end of our webinar today, and we'll include these in the information that we send out following the webinar, so you'll have some access to these thoughts and perspectives from other educators around the state. We have a few more chats here coming up, but we are going to continue moving on with some of the content in our webinar. So, looking at our next graphic here, this graphic really demonstrates the importance of relationships within mentoring and induction programming. When done effectively, mentor recruitment and selection can really support high quality relationships between mentors and beginning teachers, which helps get to some of those outcomes that we listed in our chat there, from improved student achievement to increased confidence for new educators to just overall better instruction in the classrooms. And we believe that these high quality relationships can really help beginning teachers improve their instructional practice, which is a big part of this goal here and the whole initiative of mentoring and induction. And that occurs because when beginning teachers see the value in the induction program, they start to value some of the feedback. They can see how some of the feedback helps them to improve their practice. They're more likely to feel supported, and as a result, they're just more likely to stay in the profession. So the high quality relationships piece is a critical element of good mentoring and induction programming. So over the next few slides here, we're going to talk through about 9 high quality practices for for effective mentoring and induction programs. The first one we're going to talk about is really high quality mentoring and induction feature or practice is to have rigorous mentor selection based on some qualities of an effective mentor. Some of those qualities, and of course these can be defined locally, but some of those qualities may include obviously evidence of outstanding teaching practice, strong interpersonal skills, experience working with adult learners, because of course it's different than working with adolescent or young learners. Respect of the peers, of the colleagues makes someone an outstanding mentor, and of course some knowledge of professional development and how to help grow others. And we want to move away from choosing mentors without criteria or without a specific process. Without strong criteria and a rigorous selection process, there's a risk that mentors may be chosen more on their availability or who's been in the building the longest, rather than the qualifications of who's going to best engage in meaningful interactions with beginning teachers. Also, we want to really focus on support for the mentor. Without ongoing high quality professional development and training for the mentors to support their development and the skills that mentors need, mentors are going to miss out on some of the guidance and really some of the opportunities for some support that they could really offer. I love the graphic on this slide. I wonder how your new teachers would feel if you asked them honestly how they were feeling at this stage of the year. This is a cool graph from the New Teacher Center that talks about some of the typical phases of teacher emotions. I think all teachers and all educators throughout the school year, but specifically new teachers, and how sometimes this time of the year can be one of the most overwhelming times before sometimes we hit some of those spring months where we start getting some of that positive energy back. But ultimately, we want to talk about some of the other bullet points on this slide, which is some tools that can be used to help select really effective mentors. One important tool is to create a statement of purpose for the mentoring and induction program. That really can help everyone narrow in on what the focus is of this programming, which is, again, really to improve instructional practice and the relationship building of new teachers. That statement of purpose really needs to match your local context. This is where you get to describe the local environment and the context that new teachers will be working in, because of course the needs of beginning teachers in a rural school district may be different from those in an urban district. So your statement of purpose for your mentoring and induction program can really reflect how the community needs will impact new teachers and the supports that they will need. And then finally, this clear statement of program purpose is a valuable tool just for consistent messaging across the district, or as we're talking to different stakeholder groups, whether it's new teachers or mentors or community members or leaders. This strong statement of purpose can really help everyone stay focused on the mission of our program. Another really valuable tool is to have a clearly defined list of the roles and responsibilities for mentors. The most important role of a mentor, of course, is that of a teacher leader. But mentors not only need to be effective teachers, but they also must possess the ability or be able to grow the ability to coach others to become effective teachers. This means having the ability to break down those complex instructional strategies and concepts into bite-sized pieces that are digestible for beginning teachers, and then coach those teachers to implement those strategies and concepts. This also means, of course, that mentors have to be instructional strategy experts who have a track record of meeting the needs of diverse learners and raising student achievement. Another tool that can help with your mentoring and recruitment is just a detailed job description for prospective members, what their responsibilities and expectations of the positions are, including the number of hours per week they might be expected to meet with their mentee, the types of support that mentors will provide. Are they going to be going into classrooms and providing observation feedback? Are they going to be doing co-planning with that new teacher? Having those types of supports outlined helps recruit mentors and help everybody understand what the commitment level is. Also, what professional learning and development is going to be provided and required for mentors. That's something important that mentors should know before they sign on, as well as what is the expectation for collaboration with their colleagues, with administrators, as well as what confidentiality expectations you have for your mentors working with new teachers. Ultimately, these decisions about mentor recruitment, selection, and assignment can be made by a collaborative team rather than just an individual. And when you're building this team of a mentor selection team, think of your mentor program leaders, some site or district administrators, from your education association, your local union. Those are great members on this team, as well as your veteran teacher leaders and your former or current mentors. So we talked through a few tools and strategies that might help you with your mentor recruitment and selection process. We want to ask you now, what tools and resources are you currently using to help you select and recruit mentors? And we're going to pop up a new chat here for you there at the bottom of the question. Again, what tools and resources do you currently use to support recruitment and selection? Take a few minutes to respond here, and of course, make sure to read the responses of your peer group. Few more seconds here to finish up with this chat response here. Looks like some people around the states have different ways to select mentors, as well as look at some hard data sources like educator evaluation outcomes, as well as just looking for some other really strong teachers in your district. We're going to talk about more ways to support mentors as well as your new teachers here on the next few slides. So we're going to keep going here. We'll leave this poll up here for a few more seconds here, so you can keep reading as we move forward here. Well, we want to make a point here that being an effective teacher does not necessarily translate into being an effective mentor or an effective instructional coach. Mentors need professional learning experiences that specifically develop their coaching skills, their mentor skills, and their instructional leadership skills. And that's why ongoing professional development and support is one of the key strategies of a high-quality mentoring and induction program. And again, to help, this type of training can really help mentors to help translate the elements of effective teaching to beginning teachers and speak the language of beginning teachers in a way that they can understand. So as we look at some of the content or some of the ideas for what mentors could be have professional learning around, you can see there's a balance on this list of understanding the needs of new teachers and program requirements, along with mentor skill development in the areas of communication and coaching, as well as around the ideas of classroom observation and feedback. This type of mentor professional development can be accomplished through different structures. And in our chat response, we saw one of our respondents mention this. Ongoing mentor professional learning series or mentor professional learning communities are a fantastic tool to bring mentors together across a district, across a region, through ISD support to provide this kind of networking that can really help mentors move forward and then ultimately move their new teachers forward as well. And this kind of professional development should also include some level of ongoing formative assessment and coaching for the mentor so that they can receive feedback and grow their practice as well. So thinking about the mentors that are in your current system, what are some of the professional development and learning needs that they have that could be supported through a professional learning community or a mentor network? We're going to pop up our next chat question, which is around your needs for your mentors and their professional learning. Go ahead and respond here. We'll take about 2 minutes to respond.
I walked in the last time. You know, I think it was Nikita, and my sister, you know, you're not. So I went over there right away, and she told me she had epilepsy. So I came back and understand. I said, she cannot come back to work without a release from the doctor. Mother came when I was there. To the doctor, she came back with a full release to go back to work. I said to Dan, so there's a full release. What else do we need? He said, basically, she has full release, no restrictions. That's it. On the medical plan, a little bit different because it would tell us what to do if she went into a seizure or something like that.
We'll take about 1 more minute on this chat poll here, but I do want to make the announcement again. It sounds like we're getting some feedback, so if you have called in using our call-in number, please remember to mute your phone or your office line so that we don't pick up your office conversations or phone calls. Again, please mute your phone if you've used our conference line to call in. And as we're looking here through some responses, I see some things around coaching and collaboration. Making the strategies relevant in the classroom. Ooh, I like the one there about guiding new teachers to find their own solutions, right? Being a good questioner, that cognitive coaching approach, right, where we're not providing answers, but we're encouraging reflection and thoughtful reflection. And really, the important role of a mentor, right, is to know what role is needed. Do they need to be more of the consultant and provide some of that direct information, or is it a time where some good questioning can pull it out through reflection? Because certainly new teachers have many new ideas and plenty of development through their prep programs, but they'll also need specific guidance at other times. So a good mentor knows how to balance those two things, as well as a good administrator knows those roles as well. Let's keep moving here with some of our content. Again, we'll keep that chat up. Please keep reading through. There's some really great ideas there. And if you're still typing, please go ahead and finish your response. We'd love to hear from you. So we've got another graphic here on this slide, and really to talk about the next high quality practice for mentoring and induction programs, which talks about protecting time for mentor-teacher interactions, and establishing that guaranteed time for those interactions is really critical to achieve a high-quality mentoring and induction experience. Without this protected time, obviously, meetings just happen occasionally, or whenever the mentor and teacher are available, or can get sidetracked or skipped if other things come up during the busy days of the school year. Mentors really need this sanctioned time, though, to focus on developing their new teacher partner. Mentors and beginning teachers should have up to 2.5 hours a week for the most rigorous mentoring activities, and that time should be best protected by teachers and administrators as best as possible. Another really good practice is to maintain a multi-year approach to mentoring that is intensive and ongoing in order to improve teacher practice and improve student achievement. And we want to get away from the ideas that mentoring is just a first-year teacher activity only. One-year mentoring programs, they're great at providing the initial support for first-year teachers around logistics, around induction, and some of those survival things to help teachers through their first year. But are not sufficient to help teachers reach their full potential. And the research really suggests that the most deep learning that comes from mentoring and induction actually occurs during the second and third years of teaching, when some of those survival skills are in place, and we're now ready to move on to some more high leverage things that can really impact student learning. Let's talk about some more high quality practices. Providing intensive and specific guidance to move teaching practice forward is a really important focus for mentoring and induction programs. Mentors who are trained to draw upon professional teaching standards and content area standards can focus their support on instructional growth and help the mentor or the mentee teacher see some of the concrete steps that can help them reach those standards. So let's look at an example here. You might hear a mentor say to their cooperating teacher there, let's look at your assessment data and talk about which strategies you might address to help you with your concern about reaching some of your hard to reach students. This type of instructional support can really support the new teacher to look at their practice, and really can also complement some of the emotional support and logistical support that's provided by an effective mentor. So again, that emotional and logistical support is very important, but alone it's not enough to improve teacher practice. We need that focus on professional teaching standards and academic standards and student performance to really get that new teacher moving the students forward. And ultimately, without specific instructional feedback, it's really difficult for mentoring to actually impact student learning. So high quality mentoring and induction programs maintain a focus on teaching standards and data-driven conversations. Just like student learning, beginning teacher learning should be data-driven and standards-based. To be effective, feedback to beginning teachers must be grounded in evidence about their practice, including information gathered from classroom observations. Then we have to maintain a really clear focus on instruction, and in order to keep high rigor within our mentoring and induction programs. This rigor can be compromised if our interactions are just too based on informal conversations and opinions, but not drawn from evidence or standards. And without a structure and without a focus on real-time data derived from teacher practice, our interactions here just might not get the results that we're looking for as far as really improving teacher practice. High quality mentoring and induction programs include ongoing professional development for new teachers specific to the new teacher. Beginning new teachers benefit from a professional learning community focused on new teachers, again, guided by professional teaching standards and content area standards, focused on teacher development, focusing on problem solving, focusing on collaboration and finding support. Opportunities to achieve these can be regularly scheduled seminars, online learning communities. These can all provide a network for new teachers and have help combat those feelings of isolation that can come with entering the profession. And it's really important to provide professional development specifically tailored to the needs of beginning teachers. Novice teachers are in a unique developmental phase. The one-size-fits-all professional development will not work for your new teachers. It also can also be sometimes overwhelming for new teachers if they're in a situation where they're receiving professional learning that's above their level of readiness. So really honing in on what the needs are of new teachers and designing professional development specifically for them is a really important part of a high-quality mentoring and induction program. More high-quality practices to support your mentoring and induction program, having really clear roles and responsibilities for administrators. Administrators play a really critical role in setting the stage for high-quality mentoring to happen. They're the ones who can help create the time for induction, protect that time for the mentor and mentee, and establish a positive culture around the building for teacher development and growth. Professional development for administrators and ongoing communication with them about the needs of new teachers and the nature of the mentoring program ensures that administrators understand what their role is and how they can support the new teacher and the new mentoring program. So clear roles for and responsibilities for all the parties involved within the mentoring cycle can really support your program. We want to avoid the lack of communication or the lack of training that can sometimes happen with administrators around mentoring and induction. When we don't have good communication there, sometimes principals may inadvertently undermine some of the program goals without even knowing it by assigning teachers to really difficult classes or not protecting that time for mentoring or just other things that could inadvertently come up. So keeping good communication with the building administrators is really important to support your mentoring program. And good administrators can help develop their mentors by communicating and supporting collaborative relationships, creating a culture that values growth and reflection and feedback, and also to provide resources to the mentor and mentee to implement the policies and structures that are needed to really be successful in the building. And one more there around the idea of collaboration with all stakeholders. High quality mentoring and induction programs ensure that kind of collaboration, strong communication and collaboration among all levels of stakeholders, all the way through the school board and the union leadership, professional partners in the community. This type of good communication around mentoring and induction program helps to create a culture of commitment to the program and to new teachers and helps to have a successful program and successful new teachers. Without this strong partnerships and alignment, some of our instructional initiatives can be undermined. Again, beginning teachers may start to receive mixed messages from different support providers, and sometimes those different messages can lead that new teacher to feel really overwhelmed, confused, and sometimes frustrated about the different information that's coming to them. So that collaboration, the clear communication to new teachers is really important to support their growth. Okay, so we've talked through these 9 ideas of high quality mentoring and instruction programs, and we did it all quickly because we only have 60 minutes with you this morning, which is probably not enough to really develop someone on what a quality mentoring and induction program is, but we hope to maybe pull out some ideas for you, engage, spark some learning for you, and also help you start thinking about and reflect on your own program. But again, those 9 practices are listed there, everything from selecting effective mentors to growing them with professional development to protecting time and to having clear roles and collaboration. Those are some high quality mentoring and induction practices. So our next poll question is to think about those. Which of those are real strengths for your district and which are areas that you might like to improve? So we'll give you a few minutes here to reflect a little bit, and then we'll have a few more slides here before we close up our webinar. Thank you again for your great participation today. Your poll responses have been awesome, and I know your peers are appreciating those as well. So take some time here to do one more great poll response and read your responses from your peer group as well. We'll be back with you in a couple minutes. Please continue to respond to our chat question here. You can see the strengths and goals for improvement are different district by district, area by area. Lots of either identified strength of protecting that time or a real goal to protect that mentor collaboration time. And I agree with you there about the importance of having that protection in place to just create the opportunities for that mentor to do their magic of helping to support the new teachers is really, really important. So we got some more people typing. Keep going. We love your responses, and your colleagues on the line do as well. Okay, and then another really important thing here that I'll just touch on real quick here as we're finishing up our chat is we do in our office we work around educator evaluation, and we know all of our educator evaluation systems and models have these complex and robust instructional strategies throughout. So spending time with mentors and new teachers to actually look at those strategies, break them apart, define what they look like in that local classroom and content area. So important for new teachers to be able to digest that teacher rubric and do it a little bit at a time where it's digestible for them. But wow, what a powerful way for mentors to help new teachers to focus on instruction by using that observation tool as a guide to not only guide their teaching, but also their instructional planning, their collaboration, and really building their entire instructional framework. So just want to point that out here real quick. Again, thank you for your thoughtful responses on the poll. I'm going to pass it back to Brian. Thank you for your participation. We look forward to seeing you on our next webinar real soon. Brian's going to help you wrap up the webinar here.
Thank you. Thanks, Joe. Thanks for that, for those great resources for supporting mentoring and induction programs. We've talked about the importance of mentoring and induction. We've talked about how it is an important part of teacher retention and for growing and learning for teachers. So as you are implementing mentoring and induction programming, it's important whenever there's a change in adult behavior or whenever there's a new initiative or an initiative that is just critical in nature, having an assessment of to provide a baseline, measure growth, and to identify both success criteria and whether you've met those success criteria is an important part of that. So we've provided a let me move to the lobby here. A self-assessment for mentoring and induction programming, and that self-assessment can be found in the file downloads to the lower left-hand corner. So we provided this resource available for download that will assist local districts to review and evaluate their mentoring and induction programs to identify areas of continued growth and improvement. Provides you with a baseline and also some diagnostic to know where you need to have what you need to have strengthened, and make sure that that you have the best mentoring induction program that you can. The self-assessment tool was co-developed by the Center on School Turnaround and the Center on Great Teachers and Leaders. The tool is part of the Mentoring and Induction Toolkit, which is an open, free resource from the Center on Great Teachers and Leaders. This tool focuses on 9 of the 12 school turnaround practices within the framework that are most applicable to mentoring and induction. So one important guidance that we try to provide in nearly every professional development or webinar or workshop or whatever public speaking is allowing educators to find where our educator evaluation resources reside. Typically, educators are better off just knowing where to find the many resources that we've developed out to help teachers with educator evaluation resources, and also the educator workforce research and other resources that we have. So if you go to the Michigan Department, www.michigan.gov/MDE, that is the MDE website, But the specific for the educator evaluation website, if you go to www.michigan.gov/MDE, Michigan Department Education dash or the minus sign edevals, EDEVALS, and that link is provided to you under the number 4. That takes you directly to our educator evaluation website, and there's a number of great resources available there. We've recently updated an FAQ for educator evaluations that would be good to check out. And there's many other resources for SLOs and measurement of student growth with state assessment that are available there. We also have upcoming webinars that are going to be available. Our next webinar is going to be on January 17, and that webinar is going to be on the use of student growth percentiles to measure state assessment student growth within educator evaluations. That's going to be January 17 at 9 a.m. We will also have on January 25 a webinar on EVOS, which is a value-added model reporting system that provides state assessment student growth that may be used within educator evaluations. And SAS, the vendor providing that report, will be speaking during that webinar on January 25th at 9 a.m. Then we will have retaining educators through recognition, teacher recognition, and district culture on February 22nd. Placing educators to maximize resources on March 22nd. We'll have a webinar on student learning objectives within educator evaluations on maybe on April 19, although we did just discover that April 19 is Good Friday. So that date may be moving, and we'll be watchful of updates for when that student learning objectives webinar will be. And then finally, the last webinar in our series will be on recruiting educators for open positions on May 17. All webinars will begin at 9 a.m. And to register for any or all of these webinars, you may click on the registration link that's provided on that slide, and it will bring you to a registration webpage. So thank you again for registering and for attending this webinar. We look forward to seeing you at our upcoming webinars as well. It was our pleasure to share this guidance and support with you today. We look forward to continue to connect with you throughout the course of this webinar series. We hope you found this content helpful and informative, and helpful in your efforts to support your local educator workforce. Within this slide, we've provided the contact information, email addresses for the people within our unit. And thank you again. And don't hesitate to contact us to allow us to help you support your efforts. And thanks again for your participation. Look for follow-up emails. We'll provide responses to any questions we didn't answer today. We'll also provide you a link with the recording of this webinar and a PDF of the PowerPoint used within this webinar. Do we have a survey that we want them to take? There's a survey in the lower right-hand corner here. That if you could respond to if you could provide some feedback within that webinar. We not only preach continuous improvement, but we try to live continuous improvement. And your feedback, both within the body of the webinar, but also within these surveys, we really do value feedback and use that feedback to help inform guidance that we later provide. So thank you again for attending this webinar, and we look forward to interacting with you in upcoming webinars and other opportunities. Thanks.